First, I offer my humble pranams to Holy Trios. Today, we are discussing about the emotions that run high in the youth. Sometimes they take one of the height of enthusiasm and vitality, but the next moment, the youth throw down into their bottomless pit of the indifference and depression. And most of the youth experience this pendulum-like swing in this life, because who does not know want to be a master? Even in the most of the impoverished person finds great joy and dominating over the others. Man wants to gain the mastery over everything. We don't know actually how to control, how to tackle with our emotions. So, nurturing of emotional stability is very much important, because it actually gives us that rhythm which can create a high altitude of success, and on the contrary, it can create a very low journey or low path which the youth can destroy, or anybody can destroy their life also. A popular Sanskrit couplet says, to live in a house where the wife is wicked, friends are the cheats, and the servants are disobedient, and is infested by snakes, is as good as being dead. Our body is that house in which we live, beings enslaved by a weak mind, full of desires and wrong emotions. The intellect, our so-called friend, is ever ready to deceive us. Unruly senses are our servants, and our hidden sanskars, that the subliminal impressions that we are not visible, are the snakes that ready to raise their hood at the opportune moment. So this is our predominant, despite wielding money, power, political power, executive power, knowledge power, and whatnot. That means there is an urgent need for reversing the whole process. So we must live like the masters of our personality, and this is what is called the self-control or self-conquest. The enemies to be conquered are within ourselves. Emerson also said that which I hate and fear really myself, and no knife is long enough to reach to its heart. So this involves the waging an internal war, that internal war always struggling to in our inner mind. Yoga Vasishtha says, all this is the mind. When it is cured, whole of this illusory world is cured, or illusory world, we can say, whole of this illusory world is cured. As Swami Vivekananda says, if we change the subject, the object is bound to be changed. The key of the self-control hence lies in the control of the mind through nurturing the emotional stability. So we need the training of the intellect, the control of the emotions, and how that control of the emotions, how that cultivations, that we have to cultivate the positive emotions like love, sympathy, and compassion, that makes the vital force function harmoniously in the human system. What are these? There are some steps, there are some suggestions which can be concluded by the lifelong experiences as imparted to some of the revered monastic members of the Ramakrishna order and Ramakrishna missions, that these suggestions are the ways to check the negative emotions. The first is the inculcate rational attitude and patience. That means we have to think of and we have to practice the rational attitude and patience. If you take an example, if a person tells me that he would come and meet me at a particular time, making me wait for him, leaving other engagements and does not turn up, I get angry and start tampering him in mentally. Instead of that, if I start thinking of the possible reasons for he is not coming in time, such as some illness, problem or conveyance or urgent work, I can escape from angry reactions. If for no other particular reasons, only negligence causes a situation, then also I could console myself with the thought that after all this is the way of some things are. So that way the negative thinkings can be checked. The fire of wrong emotions can be extinguished by pouring the water of the understanding. That's why. The second is arousing opposite thoughts. That pratipakha bhavana, the only means to remove darkness is to bring light. Likewise, the negative emotions can be overcome with the help of positive emotions. That means pratipakha bhavana. All our thoughts are irresistibly drawn towards and making it impossible think of other things. So we can call it at compulsive thinking. That thing we have to also practice. Pratipakha bhavana can be more effective if we be able to recognize the real cause of our problem and apply the exact antidote to it. Many times the real cause of anger could be the egotism or unfulfilled desires. Here too we have to find out the real cause and treat it properly, just as in the case of physical disease. Third point is the witness attitude. An electrically operated machine stops functioning if its electric connection is severed. In the same manner, emotions become powerful through our identification with them. If we disassociate ourselves from them and start seeing them objectively, then they become powerless and lose their hold on us. We have to think of that. The fourth way is the rhythmic breathing. The driver of a huge vehicle sitting in his place controls the movements of the vehicle with some instruments like steering wheel, gear, brake. Similarly, we can exercise some control over negative emotions by regulating our breathing. Fifth is the importance of prayer. Prayer with intense feeling transforms the negative emotions into positive ones. Since the prayers for sublime qualities and elimination of unholy feelings gradually lifts our minds to high plane. So we need that prayer. Our inner instruments must be kept in proper tune with the help of that prayer and discrimination, which will prevent us from growing out of the tune by emotions. The sixth one is the broad-mindedness. We have to broadening out. Swami Vivekananda used to say, I am broadening out with the universal love, which is nothing but the God itself. That actually develops the forwardness to evolve the spirituality. And seventh is the developing willpower. That is the important faculty of the mind, is the will or determinative element. Nischayatmika buddhi. But one of the most of us is enslaved by the various desires. So its energy, dragged by different desires, is scattered in different directions. And that's why we have to get that strong sankalpa, that is the developing willing power, which is made at the beginning of the worship and other religious acts. So well-disciplined life and strict adherence to a definite routine will greatly help in strengthening of our will. The powerful will and pureness is nothing but the light of consciousness reflected through the mind. Emerson, while speaking of the intellect, says, when it breathes through his, that means man's intellect, it is genius. But when it breathes to his will, it is virtue. When it flows through his affection, it is love. That's why various aspects of the emotional stability is discussed, and the youth can utilize and practice them in their day-to-day life. It is not to use the blaming of one's elders or educational system, but we must wake up from one's delusion and accept the whole responsibility. Swami Vivekananda said, power will come, glory will come, purity will come, goodness will come, everything that is excellent will come when this sleeping soul is roused to self-conscious activity. That's why Suktimala said, childhood, like old age, learns no other self. Only youth is the essence of life. That too, when it is not bereft of discriminations. Lord Buddha said, it is a man's own mind, not his enemy or foe, but lures him to evil ways. That's why we know that we have to control our emotions, and that will be the success of life. Everybody asks that when shall we begin our spiritual life? The Gita and Upanishad gives the answer. When you are young, when your body is strong, when your mind is fresh and vigorous. The answer of an otherworldly pity and quite otherwise. It will tell you, begin to think of religion when you are old and jaded. Enjoy sensory pleasures, but this is not. The Vedanta philosophy said that there is a gulf between action and contemplation, work and worship, secular and sacred. But we know that the Vedanta philosophy is said that we should start the spiritual practice in our early life, and this is the essence actually. With this, I conclude this lecture, and thanks to everybody. Again, I am offering my humble pranams. Thank you very much.